I think it's extremely important to learn how to play the long game and how to be patient and how to extend the time horizon and learn how to think in many years, maybe even decades, because that's also changing a lot.
Hey nerds, Monica here. Welcome to the Data Podcast for Nerds, where we get to talk to amazing professionals and ask them all about how they use data to solve the world's problems. And we're highlighting different careers out there that are data related that you might not think are data related. And of course, we always include some fun bits because we're all nerds here and we love to have fun. Today, with us, very special guest and friend of mine, we have Kris Ograbek. How are you doing today, Kris?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. How are you?
I'm doing very well. It's still hot here. It's not, the summer is holding on. I think it is actually still technically summer, so I guess that's okay. So on our show, we always start off by understanding people's origin stories. So could you please tell us about your background and how you got to where you are today in your career?
Okay, so yeah, sure. So I'm from Poland and I've studied electronics. I finished master 9 years ago, but I started in the completely different areas like automation. And then I moved to Germany in 2015. And in 2016, I got my first engineering job as a programmer, front-end developer. And in 2019, I started, I'd say that's when my life kind of changed. I started waking up at 5 a.m. in order to just get better at something and learn something on my own. And it was machine learning back then. And in those 4 years, I've done many different things and I managed to change my niche like 10 times. And so I learned bits about machine learning, NLP back then, but then I was really, really into blockchain and Web3 and like writing, learning how to learn, neuroscience, writing, sales, marketing, everything. And since May, I'm back to machine learning field, to NLP, because of large language models. And so for the past 3 months and a bit, I've been doing projects with large language models. But when it comes to my professional career, I haven't really had any data related role. I kind of have one right now, but I'm on a paternity leave till December. So yeah, I haven't really worked as a data professional yet. What I've been doing was always kind of on a side, like a solo creator about machine learning and all those things. And right now, large language models.
Okay. So currently with your professional job, what are you doing?
I mean, I got a job as a software developer again, and I met a colleague who was also into, ChatGPT stuff. And he actually started talking to my C-level people, and he was trying to convince them that we should get into AI. And once I came there, I quickly built something like, some kind of proof of concepts, what we could build with large language models and open AI and stuff like that. So we managed to finally convince them to create something, and we've got this two-person department for AI.
So what you did was bring data to your job and you're now using that at your job.
Yeah, I will be.
Okay. Nice.
So what I do, I create projects right now in Python with large language models, and the data I'm using is really data available in the internet right now it's mainly YouTube because I do some summaries or other podcasts. So any kind of transcripts that I can get, or maybe some other content like articles, sometimes even documentation. It depends, but it's like really publicly available data.
Very cool. Let's go ahead and get into what you are building with your personal projects. So we'll consider this the official fun bits section, and we'll get into it.
Okay, fun bit. So maybe let me just explain what I do right now. I kind of, because I'm also a content creator, I kind of created this workflow that I'm following, which is a weekly workflow where I first create a project with large language models, and those can be large language models from OpenAI or open source. And then when the project is done, and I do it mainly for learning purposes because the field is very, very, very new, and I'm just getting started, so I'm kind of a beginner. But I take this project and I create a YouTube video about this exact project. So how to build XYZ. Then after recording, I do the same, but in the written version for Medium. So I've got a project, a video, and an article. And because I started back in June, I've managed to do it like 7 or 8 times till now. And the projects are different, like just exploring the abilities of the tools that I'm using, which are Python-based libraries like LangChain and Hugging Face. And what I've built so far was like, YouTube video summarizer, for example, or what I called like chat with your favorite podcast, where you can take a transcript from a podcast and like do kind of QA with that transcript, so with the guest on the podcast. And recently, I just started getting into this field of open source models, which are way less powerful compared to GPT 3.5 or GPT-4. I don't know. I think like this having the ability to chat with your data, that's something I really want to get into. And I've got another like huge concept of what I could build. It would be like, I'd say, content creation command center. Because as a content creator, you need an idea, you need to write about it, and possibly you spread it into, several channels, like I do with LinkedIn and Medium and YouTube. And then you want to improve on SEO, for example, or, having a great title or headline of what you're doing. So, like every step can be automated or improved, or at least you're not starting with a blank page. With LLMs. I think what I'm doing right now in the first month is basically having those puzzles of how to do, how to gather information, how to improve writing, how to write YouTube transcripts with LLMs, and then just, combining everything, like chaining. That's my bigger project I'm about to build, but I really still need to learn more about those things.
How do you come up with the ideas for your projects?
One of the coolest things about large language models is that you can really create things that you can immediately use, like very, very practical. Because back like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, when I learned machine learning, I learned how to create some projects, how to do some classification, how to do image classification, like how to tell the difference between cats and dogs. And, I learned how to do it. I created those projects. And at the end, okay, look, you can input an image of a dog and it will say a dog. And what do I do with that now? And that's just, it was only for learning purposes. So you know how to do something, you learn those workflows, those pipelines, those libraries, but I've never used anything of that. Like for me, it was never practical. And right now, having like GPT-4 in your code, when you can really gather data, like use some APIs to gather data from internet, and then write a prompt, and then you can have like a full team in your disposal, and it's all automated. It's not free because for those APIs you do need to pay, but you can have so much today. Just if you just know what you need and how to use it.
Which one is your favorite project that you've worked on recently?
Oh, my favorite.
All of them.
I don't know. I'm still exploring, so I'm really curious about the results, and I like those that I will use, like this YouTube video summarizer. That's something I will use for myself, but not in the current version as it is, but just for having more ideas. You can use some YouTube API to see basically what people are talking about in your niche, so you know what's trending, and and you really like it. So you can create, like, basically on those YouTube summarizers, you can learn a lot, and you can come up with dozens content ideas. So it can be used in so many different ways, but like I said, it's a puzzle that's separated right now, and I just need to build something more in order to put that puzzle into its place.
Okay. Do you have current plans to build on that particular project?
Like I said, with this command center,
Okay. That's good. I'm excited to see that command center and how to use it.
Yeah, because that's something that every content creator can use.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need to customize it for specific people. Like, everybody's content is unique, and like when it's created once, you can like create it for everybody.
So with LLMs being so new, what are your go-to resources for learning about how to create these things that you have?
YouTube. YouTube
Okay.
is amazing. Really, there are so many creators that I learn. Like, what I do is like 10% of what they do. Like, there are so like many new creators who basically like publish a video a day, which is an insane pace for me. But yeah, YouTube and deep learning AI is a great resource right now. And they create so many courses, like short courses, 1 hour, like 90 minutes long, when you learn just one thing and probably one library. And there are videos and notebooks with code that you can use there, which is also very practical. And they are taught by real experts, like usually the people connected with those libraries. Like, for example, LangChain is really trending right now. Like, everybody's jumping into LangChain. And on deep learning AI, there are 2 courses taught by LangChain founder. So you learn from the guy that knows what he talks about.
Do you have ideas or do you have projects already using LangChain?
Yeah. They're like, some of the projects I mentioned are built with LangChain.
Okay.
And if you ask, like, my favorite way of learning is basically building. So I usually watch what others build, and I think about how can I like take that knowledge and build something for my own, or something I'm curious about. Yeah, so in the past I was guilty of just learning from resources without actually applying my knowledge. And so I followed books and online courses, and I tried to recreate everything they did, but it was like trying to do it out of memory without actually understanding anything. And it took me really like a year or maybe longer to create my first projects that weren't the copycats of the other projects, but it was still a project that I've never used, for example. So that was the problem with machine learning for me. And with large language models, I can really quickly come up with new project ideas that I know I will use. So I can watch a video, watch an online course without trying to apply what they do, like without following the steps, but basically taking my own data or my own idea and then following the steps. And because I try to teach everything, because when I record those videos, I also have to explain what I do and then I write about it. I think that's a great way to really solidify everything I learn right now. So it looks much slower because I take one thing and I spend 1 week with that, but I remember it after months. So that's changed.
So you're not copying exactly the projects that are in those courses that you're taking. You have a completely new or maybe even somewhat similar of a project that you're using those skills for.
Yeah, so I copy solutions, but not the
Okay.
projects.
You mentioned that you learn a lot from YouTube. Who are your favorite creators on YouTube right now?
I think one channel is called Prompt Engineering, the other One Little Coder. One more is James. I don't remember the last name, from Pinecone, but it's all large language models. So these are all fairly new.
I mean, it is just a fairly new
Yeah.
concept, and not concept, but fairly new technology that everyone's getting on board with.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, fairly new, but it's really because of ChatGPT, like the knowledge of non-technical people about what those models can actually do has increased. Like non-technical people had no idea about large language models last year. And right now, everybody talks about it, everybody knows about it. And because of those APIs, of those solutions, many companies or businesses or sometimes individuals get those products, solutions tailored for them. So like they have those, let's call them private GPTs. Like I want my GPT and that knows me, knows everything about me, about my company, about my customers. And that's doable right now. And everybody wants to have it because people who like, if your competition has it, you're falling behind. And that's like the pressure is high, but like again, the average knowledge what those models can do has really increased.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the hype versus the actual benefits of people using these types of models?
If you've got a tool that you use every day and it really saves your time, can it still be overhyped? Yeah, that's this kind of question, because I've got a
That's
tool that saves me hours every week, which means that's a great tool, right? I don't have 5 tools that save me hours every week. I've got one, maybe 2, but
That's a good question, because if you have a tool that you use almost on a daily basis, is it so special anymore? It kind of becomes the norm, right?
yeah, you kind of expect it right now.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing to think about.
Okay, you haven't asked this question, but I think about it a lot recently because I'm kind of also trying to be a freelancer, which isn't very successful for now. But recently, I've created some projects, like code-based projects in JavaScript or Python, that I wouldn't have created otherwise. Otherwise means without GPT-4. And right now, when someone has a project idea and I have no idea how to build it, 12 months ago, my answer would have been, I don't know how to build it. Like, ask somebody else. And right now, I say, let me check if I can build it. Although I have no idea how to build it, GPT-4 has given me this confidence of creating things I have no idea about, which is something very, very, very underrated still. And I don't think that many people realize that. Like for me as a developer, let's say I can build 50 things, and right now I can build 500 different things because I've got this tool that is my extension, and I know how to talk to that tool, and I know how to validate that tool. And it's given me so much more confidence into jumping into the projects that would have been impossible, that were impossible 12 months ago, and they are now very, very possible. And not because I've become a better programmer, it's because there's this tool.
Yeah.
And that's crazy. And I don't think that many people really realize that.
Yeah, I wouldn't think about that. It gives you confidence in the ability to do things that you haven't done before. I love that. Something that I wanted to ask, you mentioned that you know how to talk to ChatGPT to get what you want, right? How did you learn how to talk to it?
I'll be honest, I don't know. I think, like I said, I've had so many niches along the way, and I've learned bits from here and there. And I think what's really helped me was when I learned a lot about how to write.
Okay.
Because people who are good copywriters or content creators, they know how to talk to people, they know how to communicate. And I think the communication part is really important. Like, is being able to clarify what you mean, what you want, because most people say, I want that and give me that. And if you don't give me that, you're stupid. I'm talking about, like, in the early days of ChatGPT, many people said ChatGPT was useless. But what was useless? It was their prompts. The prompts were useless because people who really hate ChatGPT, they don't know how to use ChatGPT, right? And this communication bit is very important, and understanding some basic rules of good prompting, like, giving it some kind of constraints, giving it like some rules, and just being very specific at what you want, but also being very straight to the point. Tell it what you want, and then if you don't get it, think about what you could have said differently so you get what you want, or just said, I didn't ask for that, give me that. And then when you go through those iterations, you learn how to become a better prompter, basically.
Okay.
And then when you talk to that tool another time, you don't need so many iterations because you've learned from your past mistakes, right?
Yeah. So much like everything else, you're learning by doing and by failing and learning from those mistakes and then getting better at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but basically being clear and specific.
Yes. All right. Well, do you have any other final words of encouragement or maybe recommendations for the listeners?
I think, like, based on my story, which is, again, I've been doing things for 4 years right now, like doing on a side and not really seeing tangible results, like external results or rewards. I think it's extremely important to learn how to play the long game and how to be patient and how to extend the time horizon and learn how to think in many years, maybe even decades, because that's also changing a lot. Like I said, like, it seems that I learn slower right now because I spend more time with a single topic and a single concept I learn, but on like long term, I'm winning. Like, so I'm losing short term, but I'm winning long term. And I think like being able to do that, like to stay patient and just wait, learn to wait.
Learn
For
to
what you
wait.
want.
All right. Oh, well, thank you so very much, Kris, for all of your words of wisdom and sharing your fun projects with us. If any of the listeners have any questions for you, where can they find and or follow you?
Yeah, on LinkedIn.
All right. Well, thank you again so very much, Kris, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Absolutely. And as always, folks, happy learning.